Welcome back to another episode of Mindful Drawing. I'm Rooks is Fun, and I'll be your guide on this practice into meditation through the act of drawing. Today's exercise will look at how we can use abundance, redundancy, and agglomeration, the collection of many things, to help us open doors into that space of observation and witness where we can reflect and detach a little bit from ourselves through this mindful action to hopefully let some things through, let some things out, and just breathe into whatever space we create. And along the way, we'll create a little bit of a creative expression through our drawing and maybe find something interesting and inspiring for the rest of the day. All you need is a pad of paper and something you enjoy drawing with. Today, I'm going to explore some colored pencils just to bring some variety and really get into the feel of that kind of silky, smoother graphite that comes with the colored pencil medium. Otherwise, anything will work. So go ahead and let's establish our space and draw together. And we prepare ourselves a little bit, see if we have a small scrap paper for a little warm-up motion and movement, just to get our body situated. Give a little bit of rotation to wherever you're at, a little right side, left side attention, trying to bring that motion down from the hips up through the spine, and just a little rock back and forth, side to side, feeling where your seat is supporting you, and then feeling where your feet are engaged. You have a stable sense of place and awareness. And then for the exercise, to warm up, just begin with a few nice, gentle, kind of sweeping curves across the space, playing a bit with how you might hold the pen or pencil, moving at different speeds, maybe starting smooth and slow, transitioning to something quick and fluid, and warming up that sense of touch in the hands and fingers to engage with the pencil or pen, warming up the chain of motion up from the tips of the fingers through the hand and through the arm, perhaps feeling out both sides of the body, left and right, drawing towards and away, and just getting a feel for a flow of a curve. And in that flow is where we will begin the exploration for the day as a big starting or framing of the territory. So as you feel that your motion in your right, in your left, whichever hand suits you, in the forward and the back, in the flow and the swoop, are in a nice place. We'll transition to a larger exercise and open up the paper just by defining across it one continuous swoop as you bring your attention in and just begin moving that pencil, pen across the page to define a nice trajectory, bringing its shape, form, and a little bit of expression. Maybe starting a second engaged with, along, or through the first. However it feels comfortable in the drawing with your body. I'm just going to bring a couple more here, letting my left hand engage in the act and practice of marking out some space, of establishing our marks on that page or blank territory, of finding a little bit of figure and pattern. And I think as your eyes scan over what has emerged there, and let the pen or pencil search around a place that feels comfortable to hold your arm, as well as draws the eye in anywhere along there. Just going to begin by making some like kind of small half-ish circles. And after one bubbles off, we'll start another, perhaps extending to overlap the first, like the seeds in a raspberry that have come out in this part of the world this time of year. Or like little bubbles or grapes, maybe even the rings of tree mushrooms with these gentle little outward gathering, outward extending agglomerations of parts of circular shapes, scales filling out the space around, from or on a curve, and then begin to play in this first iteration of them with the size, the position, the intensity of overlap, looking into the layering, and just becoming familiar with how you interface the drawing of the arc with the established flow of the curves on the paper, and each neighbor bringing its own influence into the next move. And as that clustering grows, we can find a new place anywhere along one or the same curve, and begin again now with the general base of the technique established. We can bring our attention into the parts of the act of the drawing, breathing in to find a location to begin, and letting the breath flow out as you move, completing the breath with or beyond the drawing, having that moment of reposition and searching, and beginning the cycle again, breathing in to find location and out with action, letting it move out through our attention to that cycle, aligning action with attention. Giving a few moments of practice to being with that space of creating, maybe bringing our awareness to whether we want to run away with it, to start moving faster, how the slowing down may make us feel, and go into that space of the slower connection there with the breath. At whatever pace your breathing is moving, it's generally going to be a lot more even and slow than the speed with which we can draw that pencil tip across the page. As we bring them into a finer connection, it opens up some space for us to reach our mind out into the feeling of moving the pencil, that little connection between index finger, middle finger, thumb, or whatever parts of your hand you're using with your instrument, the pressures gradually shifting as we move in an arc, pressing out, over and back, up, to the side, and down. engaging that whole cycling as we smooth out that space, that definition of space in part of a circle. At any time to reposition, perhaps re-engage, finding a new spot, perhaps changing hands to let the mind enter in to that space of awareness with less traveled aspects of our action, our offhand, that still helps us out and engages during the day with the rest of the world, picks up a newspaper or a magazine, opens the door, grabs a carton of milk out of the fridge, maybe a little unconsciously, still an engaging interface to the world, but less our primary focus when doing fine tasks, finesse tasks, and give it a little attention, a little time for that action, exercising up the whole chain of nerves. As you feel the pressure changes on the fingertips, guide the instructions and communications to the muscles of the hand that keep the pencil as steady as we can with our offhand. They guide the feedback up through the arm, the wrist, keep it steady and secure, to move it with the flow of the motion and the breath. And to recognize the awkwardness, perhaps quicker implementation of fatigue that may come with an exercise, a practice in a space that is not as normal, not as easy to control or guide, opening up more dialogue and spacing out the reciprocity that we internalize very quickly with our routine and habit of the higher functional parts of our day or our body. And at any time, feel free to switch, maybe back and forth as mental or physical kind of fatigue or tension build up, giving one hand a break, then the other, letting them work together to bring greater movement, freedom, as well as kind of oscillation and sharing into awareness. Now that the technique can drive our action, we've internalized some of the process and can let our attention focus elsewhere. Whether that's deeper into the breathing, really bringing a sense of time, stretching, and relaxation to each breath. Or attention into the way of making the marks, the way and action of the drawing, the parts of the process slowed down and expanded into our awareness space, the finding of beginning, the choice and establishment of direction, the flow along an invisible shape from one place to another, rendering it present. and as that attention may go into the act of forming an arc, a quite complicated and challenging shape, free to move and wobble, generally connecting 2 points along a bent path, but without a clear, straight direction between them. Each moment moving straight on its own tangent, but constantly shifting its slope, running a little bit of physical math, expression of physics and calculus behind our head, behind our mind, not doing the calculations, but letting the body's own system process those moves. Just like walking, jumping, we've learned it through our engagement with the world, through physical matter and interaction, through the constraints of our gravity system. And those elements can bring effect to kind of any aspect of what we might do, making marks on the drawing, interpreting the feeling of those marks. Do they have a natural feeling curvature? Or do they feel constructed, artificial, or mathematical? In the physics of the part of the universe we inhabit inform the weight that we lift as we breathe in. The pressure of the air and blood moving at different rates through the system internally. One closed loop held in an atmosphere. Somewhat self-regulated, but influenced by its sensors and by the physical interactions around us. And just use a couple of minutes to make a few more clusterings, add into the ones that already exist, layering more of these shapes, and just having some time with the feeling of generating a curve or an arc, inhabiting that space of movement, that blend of intentional action with ingrained or embodied action, both contributing to an expression, a creativity, whether intentioned or resultant, something new so quickly and maybe easily emerging onto a paper. Having some moments with these exercises to bypass some of the block to what we are creating, bypass concern for idea, and just allow action to be at play, to be generative, to be freeing or opening from the consequence. each new mark, each kind of moment in the space of the drawing, a new exploration, a new discovery, and a new chance to enter into the awareness of the motion, to bring growth through practice, both technique and attention. And anytime if you feel tension, tightness, or fatigue, again, we can switch hands or give them a little rest, switch drawing instruments. Let that change in focus also bring an awareness of the space you're establishing, of your connection between mind, hand, eye, paper, and instrument. And I'm going to search now for finer grains, new details, maybe reaching into, repeating, extending, or even shading existing shapes. Layering in some more of those aspects of drawing that we may have practice with or maybe new, because we've provided such a dense, broad, open territory that it gives us plenty of room to explore, experiment, and create. We can practice the recognition that we can't ruin this little exercise on the paper. We can only discover from it something to take forward or something to let go of. Take 5 minutes or so of just quiet drawing, searching, inhabiting, teasing out whatever you might see, feel, or play in the drawing. Last bit of exercise within this practice. Continue drawing as you are, and see if you can detach and bring kind of observation and witness to the way you're drawing. Whenever we observe, we also affect and interact with, but looking for that space of separation, of kind of mindful awareness to what is happening. What do I see? What does the witness or observational part of my mind let in from the space in front of me? And as you see things, maybe the critical mind or the labeling mind comes into action, and try to breathe them through. Let them come, let them see, and let them pass to the next one. Am I moving too fast? Am I rushing? Maybe, maybe not. These observations and messages, feedback, are important as we engage every day in work, play, practice, or just making it around our space. And we can see them, recognize them, follow or develop dialogue with them, and practice greater integration with all those layers of ourself. With that, I begin disengaging myself from the page, letting myself pull back from it, perhaps letting the hands feel the paper a little bit just for a different sensation. Turn them and let them feel the air to awaken back up to what they will engage with for most of the day. And take a deep breath in and let the shoulders settle in that rolled position. And bring yourself back into your space. Awake, refreshed, and ready for something new. Agglomeration and witness. The many things everywhere, all at once, as that new movie says. And the ability to detach and witness, to have a little space to observe and just take stock of that, where we are. Write that red circle, you are here. You begin establishing your own map and way into the territory to explore, find your creativity, look for inspiration in the act of doing, but also be aware and present for that action, to embody it completely, to follow it where it may lead, and to have some fun in this time of relaxation and exercise. Thank you for joining. MRooks is fun, and if you like what you saw here, leave a comment down below, give it a thumbs up, and share it with your friends. I make new videos every week. They're live through Mindful Prat via Zoom if you ever want to join, and you can also catch them here, usually the next day or so, on YouTube. So subscribe and get those notifications so you can have a nice start to your day with these mindful practices anytime. MRooks is fun, signing off, and draw well. Thank you.